We're good to go. You're good to start, Bob.
You're still on mute, Bob.
Mute there. There we go. Can everyone hear me now?
Yep.
Thank you. I'd like to welcome everybody to the Environmental Advisory Committee on this 24th of February. Beautiful sunny day. Special welcome to Tim Doherty for him putting his name forward to volunteer for this committee. This is his first meeting. We had a chance to chit chat a little bit yesterday about everything from this committee to internet to the Toronto Maple Leafs. So Tim, welcome. Also, welcome to Dave. I believe this is your first meeting of the Environmental Committee. So welcome, Dave. Moving along, you all received a copy of the agenda. Does anyone have any additions that they would like to bring forward, or on 4.4, which is not on the agenda, we will have a round table. Not hearing anything, I would need a mover and a seconder to accept the agenda, and you'll have to speak up because I can't see you all. So I need a mover to accept the agenda.
I'll move it, Bob. It's Dave.
Dave, moved by Dave, seconded by, was that Dean?
Yeah.
Seconded by Jean. I presume you're all in favor of the acceptance of the agenda, and I can't see you, so if not, just holler out. Okay, it's accepted. Any disclosures of pecuniary interest? I can't see or hear anything, so probably not. Adoption of the minutes of the last regular meeting of December 8th. Any questions?
I'll move that we adopt.
Moved by Dean, seconded by
Brad.
Brad.
Yep.
All in favor?
Aye. Yep.
Carried. Moving along. Number 4, comments on the waste management bylaw 2010-26 draft revisions. I believe Kevin is online.
Yeah, I'm here. Thank you. Good night, everyone. Through you, Mr. Chair. We're just asking, because everybody had a couple weeks or actually over a month to review this, if there's any questions or additions anybody had. So I'm just going to throw it back to the chair and ask away.
Thank you, Kevin. Does anybody have any comments on it? If not, we're
Dean.
going to, yes, Dean.
I do, Bob. Well, it's pretty extensive. It's quite a long change to our bylaw. And I guess my biggest concern is that there's quite a bit that has been devoted to curbside waste collection, which we presently don't do. And I don't know, I haven't heard that we've got any plans to do so in the near future. And I'm just wondering if it makes the bylaw a bit confusing to have that part about curbside waste collection in until we actually are planning on having curbside waste collection. And so maybe Kevin, you might have some comments as to why you think it should be in this bylaw at this time.
Yeah, for sure. Through you, Mr. Chair. We do offer curbside, right? Like we have certain special places we do offer curbside to for like senior citizens and stuff. That's why that's in here, because right now there are no rules. They can put whatever they want out and we have to pick it up. So that's why those sections have been placed in there.
So if I could just add a little more, then I noticed in reading it all that there are some fairly stringent requirements now in terms of a box to put the bags of garbage in and that sort of thing. And I'm just wondering if that's going to be appropriate in town and like in the Wellville. But most of what we do for seniors is mostly in the Wellville area. And I just, there's so much in there that is required if you're going to have curbside pickup that I kind of wonder how it's going to work. That's all, whether it's feasible, even for the few people, because we only have a few people, I think, that we're picking up for at this point.
Yeah, through you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, it is just because we have no guidelines for any curbside right now. So it's just so we're getting ahead, and we don't, like, if anybody puts anything out, we pretty much have to take it in any container. So we're just getting ahead. If, say, an elderly person left for the weekend, they could have their stuff out, right? And that's why we have all these measures in here. It's easier to do it now than try to fix the problem later. So when we revamp a bylaw, we always try to look ahead and go ahead instead of trying to, you know, catch up later on. It's just a lot easier to get ahead of the curve.
Okay, thank you, Kevin. I'm just wondering, Mark, would you have any comments to add to this?
Through you, Mr. Chair, no, I think Kevin has pretty well summarized it in terms of the special pickups and trying to get ahead of the curve, so we're not always amending bylaws going forward. And I think if I recall, and Michelle can clarify, I think we have 3 or 4 residents that are on that program currently.
We
Okay,
do have 4.
Sorry, what was that, Michelle?
Sorry about that. We do have 4 that are on the special pickup.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments on the bylaw? If not, I guess we'll.
I have one, Mr. Chair.
Yes. Go
I
ahead.
noticed under the liquid waste section, and I'm wondering how a citizen determines the slump test to this liquid waste.
Through you,
Back
Mr.
to you,
Chair.
Kevin.
Yeah, through you, Mr. Chair. That is more for at the landfill site. If anybody's bringing in like material that is, you know, like too wet liquid, and that's where we would use that. It wouldn't be in a regular garbage bag because that's not regular household waste, right? It's for like a dump truck showing up with something in it, and it's not supposed to be there. That's all.
Okay, thank you, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Moving along, curbside recycling pilot project update. Again, Kevin, please.
Yeah, thank you. Through you, Mr. Chair, quick update. Our tentative start date will be May 12th, and it's every other Thursday, starting as 7 a.m. We have developed our Waste Wizard online to have a calendar that will give everybody their dates and when the pickups will be. So we're trying to direct everybody to our website and use the Waste Wizard. Also on this program, residents will be able to put in a contact information like for themselves, an email address, and they would get an alert if there was a service interruption or like a snowstorm or something like that. Our blue boxes have been ordered. They should be here about mid-March. We are going to be delivering those door to door, and everyone's going to get a pamphlet and instructions on what's allowed and a rundown. Hopefully we can get some people while they're home, but if not, it'll be left there with all the instructions and what's going on. Excuse me. The next tax bill is going to have information to go to our website to see if you're on the route. As of right now, we're updating our website and we'll have all the maps and addresses that will be being picked up in the pilot program. That's it for me. If anybody has any questions.
Any comments or questions?
I have a question, Bob.
Go ahead, Dave.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Chair. Sorry, Kevin, I just missed the start date.
Oh, yeah, through you, Mr. Chair. It's going to be May 12th, and that's a Thursday, and it'll be every other week.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else?
Through you, Mr. Chair. So for Kevin, could you possibly bring me up to speed with the distribution? What areas and how you see this rolling out? And it would be done in phases, or you're going to do the whole municipality?
Yeah, through you, Mr. Chair. So this committee has recommended to council that certain areas are going to be in the collection zone. So just a quick rundown, like heavy populated areas will be part of it. So Noelville, Albin, Turin Road has a lot of people. And also Wolseley Bay, because those bins were removed on Wolseley Bay. So that's going to be part of the collection. So we're just getting the high density areas right now because it is a pilot program. So that's what council has approved.
Thank you.
Okay,
I've got a question, Bob, if you wouldn't mind.
go
please.
ahead, please.
All right, Kevin, if you wouldn't mind, what are going to be the yardsticks with which to measure the success or lack of success of this program?
Through you, Mr. Chair. So we're going to say, well, it's going to be about a year, and we are going to collect data throughout every pickup. So Public Works already has a system, and we're going to be giving it to our recycling handlers, and they'll be able to mark off every household if it's picked up or if it's not, or if there's an issue. And then we'll be able to go back and talk to the residents and hopefully see, if what the issue is, if they want to use it, or so we're just going to depend on how many people actually use the program, and then we're going to report back to this committee and see if it's viable.
Great, thank you.
If I may, Mr. Chair, I think it's important to note that we're hoping to see a decrease in our contamination by implementing this pilot project as well. So that information will be gathered throughout the course of the pilot project.
Thank you, Mark. Anything else from anyone?
I got a question.
Yes, please go ahead.
To Kevin, because I missed it earlier. Is the recycling program, is it open to businesses as well, or is it just for residential houses?
Through you, Mr. Chair, it's just residential.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, I have one concern, and it's how, and I'm going to steal maybe a page from Jennifer's thinking. How do we get people to recycle? I'm just going to use an example here. 4 of my friends that will be in the pickup area, they don't recycle now. And I've been talking to them, and it's always the same. Well, why should we do this? Why should we bother? I try and educate them, talk about it and everything, but how do we push people further to recycle? And anybody that wants to chime in, Kevin, I'll give you the first crack at it.
Through you, Mr. Chair. it comes down to like this committee would decide on a way for public education once we report back. But I find the easiest way with people is tell them like tax dollars. It saves money. It saves money on our waste management system. So.
Okay, thanks, Kevin. Anybody else have a comment on that, or?
I'll chime in just to add some more clarity to it. Let's not hide behind the whole issue. We have 13 years left in landfill capacity currently. We all know that we're currently undergoing an environmental assessment for expansions, but that's going to be down the line. So at one point, we have to, the province isn't opening up new landfills. So we have to get the message across. We've put notices in the tax bills. We've tried educating people on the website. We've done an enormous amount of work with this committee itself. And, thanks to Jennifer for her endeavors in working with Michelle in getting some of the information through. I think the key initiative is to get through to the kids. The kids will get through to the parents. The kids will get through to the grandparents. That's how we started recycling in our household, because of our involvement of our kids within the recycling program. So those are just some of my thoughts and ideas for the committee to ponder going forward.
Yeah, Mark, I agree with you completely. I was going to say my 8-year-old granddaughter could lecture on the subject. And reinforce recycling is very important. If we don't get it, they do, and they can bring it forward to their parents or grandparents. So maybe into the schools, and I'm sure part of a communication process that would be included.
Just
Thank you.
question, Mr. Chair.
Yes.
When does the tax letter go out approximately?
If I may, Mr. Chair, they were mailed out today.
Okay.
And there was some information included in the tax bills, I believe, that Kevin mentioned there a while ago.
There's a newsletter that speaks of the recycling pilot project and other important information of municipal operations. But I still think there's more education work that can be done. Oh,
for sure. Mr. Chair, I don't know if you want to go into the next topic, which is the Earth Day now, or if you want me to.
I think we're about done with the curbside recycling, unless somebody else has. So we'll move along to 4.3, Earth Day recycling education. Earth Day is on April 22nd this year on a Friday. So who wants to start off? Jennifer, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
You're welcome.
I don't have any grand ideas right at this second, but I was just thinking that might be a key date if the recycling project is scheduled to start around May 12th. April 22nd might be a key date to get into the school and get into the community. One question I had was just out of curiosity, what we've done in the past for this day. And then a second point, I think getting into the schools, whatever that looks like, would be one important alley, but also being out in the community. I know we all have very busy lives, so I don't want to overcommit or anything like that, but I'm just thinking I don't know if this is allowed with COVID, but a stand outside of the grocery store. I think if we can come up with some ways where we're not in people's faces in a negative way, but we're visible in the community, I think that might be a way to, I guess, I can't think of the word. Anyway, a way to make the information. I think a lot of people probably glance over letters, glance over the website, and it doesn't really sink in. I think we need to find a way to make more of an impact. And that's it for now.
Yes, Jennifer, I agree with you. Being visible is tremendous. Even on that day, like you say, maybe having a little stand and moving it around in town and Noelville and Alban. And now we're here and now we're there. And maybe if we could get a few of our committee members, I know I could make myself free. Maybe it's just something to think about and plan. Anyone else want to chime in here?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, if I could maybe offer another suggestion, or maybe sort of along the same lines, I was going to suggest open houses, or certainly open area gatherings, like at the Alban Community Center, or perhaps at the Noelville Hockey Arena, where people can, gather en masse and have the information available so that this committee and or the municipal people can answer questions and perhaps give some examples of what's acceptable and what's not acceptable for recycling.
Okay, thank you, Brad. Anyone else?
Mr. Chair?
Yes, Kevin.
Through you, I would just like to bring up to Jennifer, we have approached GFL for a recycling video. So we're just waiting to hear back. So I know you've been asking for that. So hopefully they come back shortly with something for us that we can bring to the committee and you guys can use in the schools. So.
Okay, thank you, Kevin. And for those that don't know, GFL is our contractor that will be picking up our recycling. Is that it on this subject? Moving along to the roundtable.
Oh, sorry,
Oh,
Mr.
Jennifer,
Chair.
go ahead.
Sorry. And the video with the contractor, that would, the idea would be that it would start from the minute, well, I guess from when they pick up the recycling in Noelville. Is that the idea?
I'm not sure. So either Kevin or Michelle.
Through you, Mr. Chair, we're not sure what they have yet, so we're just waiting to hear. It's a very large company, so we got to see what they're gonna provide to us. So we'll get back with an update as soon as we can.
Okay, and then if there's anything that we feel like we want to add to it from our end, I would be open to helping with that. Just in terms of, I'm just thinking, in my head, I was kind of thinking, showing residents the step-by-step process from the minute their recycling gets picked up or dropped off. Where does, it gets picked up in our trucks, then it goes to the landfill, and then GFL comes to pick it up, and then where it goes from then on. I was just thinking, just to break it down, because I think for most people it's out of sight, out of mind. It's not in my backyard. I don't think about it. I don't even know what happens. I think a lot of people are really cynical. We put it in the recycling, it probably doesn't even get recycled anyway. What's the point? And I think we have a lot of work to do with the schools. I'm just speaking from my own experience. I haven't been overly impressed in general with recycling in the schools in our community. So I don't know if, I think it would be good to get administrators and staff on board, because if they're not on board, then they have to be the role models in the school. So from my end, I will chat with my own coworkers and see what ideas they might have. But I just, think that we have a lot of work to do in the schools too.
Thank you, Jennifer. We'll move along to, if anybody has anything, to a roundtable discussion about anything. And I'm just going to go around, and I'll start with Dean. Dean, did you have anything else you wanted to bring forward?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm going to mention one item in our new redone bylaw. There's a comment in there that says recyclable waste to be loose, that is not in a bag. And I don't know whether that's something new now because of our proposed curbside pickup, or whether we're not supposed to put recyclables in a clear plastic bag anymore and put them in the bins. And maybe Kevin could just let us know for sure whether we keep recyclables in a bag in a bin or not, or just dump them in the bin.
Yeah, for sure. Through you, Mr. Chair, to answer Councillor Wemborn's question. Plastic bags are no longer recyclable, so that's why we're trying to get away from that. So as well, like, we are providing the blue boxes for all these residents that will be getting the curbside, and hopes that we can educate people enough that they'll stop using the plastic bags, because every time it's in a bag, the recycling facility has to rip those bags apart by hand and then goes down the line, and that goes into the garbage. So it just causes a lot of issues with contamination.
So if we're using the bins, Kevin, we could just simply dump the bag into the bin.
Yep, that's correct.
Okay.
And I know I'm about 3 years out of living in Sudbury, and the Blue Box program's been there for some time. But they did introduce the bagging into the blue bin, if that makes sense the way I said that. It was a big deal. They, in fact, wouldn't take your recycling if it was in a bag. They would leave it behind, and there was a specific note that got left. So another facet of education. I'm not certain, in fact, I have a question later, but I'm not certain what GFL's responsibilities will be right at the curbside, if they're going to attempt to filter that out, help in the education of the homeowner.
Through you, Mr. Chair, I can give that a quick, we're working with GFL right now, and we're looking at providing stickers. Normally they just leave it there, but we would like to provide stickers. So that's going to be probably next meeting. We're going to bring that up and come to with a design, something that they can mark off with a couple generic issues within their recycling, so they can mark it off, and it helps educate the person at the curb.
Makes a lot of sense.
Okay, thank you, Kevin. Kevin, am I to understand that the person that does not have, that will not get curbside pickup, say on Whippoorwill Road, that they are to bring in their recycling to the dump or bins loose, that they can no longer use a bag?
Through you, Mr. Chair. Yep. It's just it's non-recyclable, right? So anybody that is doing that is breaking the bylaw even right now as it stands. So, like, we're not supposed to be putting garbage in with our recycling, so it should be dumped loosely into the bins. So,
and no bags, no clear bags. That's
No
where
bags.
I'm getting at. Okay, thank you. Dean, was that it for you?
That's all for me. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay, you can always jump in later if there's something comes up. Dave?
I don't really have anything to bring up, really. So I'm assuming though, but like Jen was talking about the schools. So those schools, I guess, would fall under commercial. They wouldn't have the curbside, so they still have to go to a bin or the landfill, I'm assuming.
yeah, through you, Mr. Chair. Yes, they'll have to use the landfill site.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Brad? Brad,
on
do you have
mute.
It's going to help if I take it off of mute. All right, let's try this one again. One of my questions was already asked by Dean, and I'm really pleased to hear all of that because we've been so fastidiously putting all of our recycling into bags to throw into the bins. I kind of wondered why the heck we were doing that anyways. Okay, it's all been answered now, so that's perfect. Second question. How is the monitoring program going with respect to the cameras at the various transfer spots? Have you seen sort of the same things are getting better in terms of people not leaving garbage outside of the bins, or is it getting worse? And how many charges are still being laid? I don't know who to aim that at, but it's just a question I'm
We'll
asking.
aim it at Kevin.
Okay.
Through you, Mr. Chair, to answer Brad's question, Noelville has been a complete turnaround. It's much cleaner. There's not much left. We had an issue with our cameras for the past like month and a half. That lightning strike in December struck them and fried them, but we just got them back online last week. But the way that they're laid out now, and being closed most of the week, it's gotten much better. Albin still stands the same. As for charges, just being the winter months and not being as busy, we're not the bylaw department isn't getting as many, the odd person, but still until like there's some significant changes in the sites like Noelville, it's still going to be hard to monitor, and we're kind of chasing people. So,
okay, thanks very much.
Thank you, Brad. Tim.
Yes. I just got a couple of things, and I apologize. Lots of this has been discussed long before I got here, but I'll throw them out there in any case. And one is the opportunity to do composting and attach that to recycling. So if you follow what I mean, has that been something considered in the municipality? Because again, I'm only a few years out of the city. I missed that. We did it. I had 2/3 diversion, I'm sure, to composting. And now it feels not the best to be putting that into landfill. So just more of a comment slash whether it's a real question or not. Has it been discussed?
Okay, thank you, Tim. Yes, it's been discussed, and I'm going to let, again, maybe Mark and Kevin answer this one.
Through you, Mr. Chair, I'll take the first bit if Mark wants to go after. For the actual landfill site, we are not big enough to really have a productive compost site. It's just, you need a significant amount for it to actually like turn into that dirt soil that everybody wants. It just wouldn't work out for us. It would just be a big stinky pile that never really does anything. I don't know if backyard, because I've been on this committee for about a year, so if backyard composting was ever discussed, but that would be a really good option because we're so rural. If this committee ever wanted to look into funding or helping people, educate them, however they choose, this committee chooses to decide to help divert waste from the landfill, would be backyard composting would be the way to go. So,
okay. Thank you.
I have a follow-up on that, just to let you know, Tim. We've composted both in Sudbury and here at the French River, and have done it successfully. Never had a problem with wildlife because we don't throw meat scraps or anything like that into it. And generally, it's good compost for the garden, and we're self-sufficient in that regard.
Yeah, no, it's clearly the right thing to do. And I think it was expressed earlier, 13-year lifespan is not a lot. It sounds like it is. And if this was to help in any manner, again, backyard, and that you're right, we have more property typically. And my first thought was going to be raccoons and otherwise, but I can't say I have the experience. So just good that it's been discussed. And I think it's good for us to support that, however we might do that.
I'd like to add to that. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, please. I get one other comment.
Go ahead, Dave.
Oh, I'd like to add to that too. I've been doing compost for at least 2 years now, maybe more. and I throw everything in there. It's just in a plastic garbage bag, container with holes in it. It's sitting out there in the backyard. I throw everything in there. I've never had any wildlife come near it, never bothered it. My sister was in Sudbury. She had just freshly thrown an old fish on top, and a bear walked right by it, never even looked at it. So I don't see any concerns. I'm
No
right in
downside, eh?
the field here. There's wildlife all around. I've never had any problems.
Thank you. Cool.
Tim, anything else?
I just had one other comment in it, and I would have told you coming into this meeting that I'm a real advocate for recycling, and I follow all the rules, and I do, but I didn't know about not using a complete bag to bring my recycling here. I know I can't do it in Sudbury in the blue bin, but I never thought about it here in Noelville. And the reason I make the comment that way, I'm kind of turning myself in, but I'm wondering if it's in the bylaw, that's good, but I'm wondering if there's another level of education. Maybe I'm not the only one that just doesn't get that part. And if that helps, I know I'm fixed, I will never do it again, sort of thing. But I'm certain there's a lot of people don't know that. Comment on that.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
Dean, and
Yes, Dean.
I was kind of interested in hearing Tim's comments about the bag too, because I wasn't aware that the bags weren't supposed to be going into the bins. From now on, I'll simply dump my bag into the bin. Most of us have to collect it at home in a bag of some kind until we take it to the bin or to the landfill or wherever we're going to take it. So I guess that it's simple enough when I get to the bin site to just empty the bag in the bin, and that's what I'll do. And I wanted to just also comment on the trying to compost. I had a composter, a big plastic one time, and we tried to get into it, but the bears ruined it very quickly, and that was the end of it. But I believe that if you've got enough yard space somewhere, you can just have a compost site in the ground, on the ground, just to put a wooden plank around it and start throwing everything in it and keep it away from the house away. And if the animals want to root around in it, let them root around, but you still have the compost working there all the time. And I think that's what we'll try to do.
Makes sense.
Thank you, Dean. I will confess, I am like Tim and Dean. I did not know about the clear plastic bag. I would go through it, and I knew the plastic home hardware bags and all that could not be in there, so I made sure they were out. But I always use the clear plastic bag. Guilty. Not anymore. We saved the best for the last. Jennifer.
Oh boy, what an honor. Thank you, Mr. Chair. You know what, I will say too, not with the clear plastic bags, because I bought 2 plastic bins. So we just put our recycling directly into the bins, and then I will say that that's not my job. So my husband takes the bins to the depot and he dumps them in. But I had originally thought, because I think we did previously recycle, or we were accepting grocery bags until, I don't know, a year ago or 6 months ago. I forget when it changed. And I never realized that it had changed until we were talking about it the one meeting. So it's interesting because, you know, we're on the environment committee and some of us weren't even aware either. So I think it just really speaks to the fact that we need to make this information as visible as possible, especially because, you know, we have people moving, so many people that have moved from other communities into our community who, you know, may have had very different recycling regulations where they were coming from. So, and then in addition, we've had changes in what we accept and what we no longer accept. So I think perhaps when we decide what we're going to do for Earth Day or for whatever we decide to do for recycling education, maybe we can come up with some very key points that we want to make sure get across, and we can focus on that on our posters and or whatever promotional materials that we create, and in our messaging as well. And then on that note, since now almost March and Earth Day is April 22nd, I'm wondering if it would make sense to have either another meeting soon, or like a second mini committee that's focused on Earth Day. Just because I know the time is quickly approaching, and I wouldn't want to miss that day.
Well, Jennifer, I was going to suggest about the same thing you are now, that if any of us had ideas for Earth Day, to communicate with Michelle or either myself, and maybe try to have another meeting. We'd probably have one before March 22nd, but we don't want to wait till March 20th to have, not March, but April 20th to have a meeting. So I would suggest if any of us have ideas, to communicate them to Michelle, and we'll go from there. Is that
For
okay?
you,
with
Mr.
Yes,
For you,
Michelle?
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
we could put some dates together and put them out to the committee to see if they work.
Okay.
For
Jennifer, anything else?
Yes, that would be great. Thank you, Michelle. I'm also just wondering, and I don't want to add to Michelle's plate, but I'm just wondering if after the meetings, if we could just have, if it's possible to have like a very short follow-up email with just the few key follow-up points, like our to-do list, a little reminder of what our key action points are after the meeting, because I will admit that I forgot to reread the, I forgot that until we got the agenda for this meeting, I forgot that we were supposed to go through that, the bylaw update, for example, just so it would help me if I had a few, just a quick email with the top 3 things that we're supposed to do between now and the next meeting, kind of thing, if that's possible.
Thank you, Jennifer. I'm sure we can work something out that way. If everybody's in agreement, and quite a few of you mentioned that backyard composting, if you would like, we could ask staff to like prepare a little report, maybe not before the fall, because with this new recycling program, they have lots to do, but maybe prepare a little report that what we could do to encourage this, or maybe buy special bins and make them available for resale to, I don't know. But would the committee be interested in looking further into this?
I'd be interested, Bob, to look into this, but I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think we have to recommend it to council for council to ask
Yes,
staff
but,
to
I
look
mean,
into it.
Yes, you're completely right, but I mean, the information could come to us first.
Yes,
We could mull it over, then recommend it to council.
but I think just to have staff look into it, I'm not sure if I'm correct on this, but I think we have to recommend it to council to have staff look into this. I'm pretty sure.
Through you,
Okay.
Mitch, I'll jump in, Mr. Chair.
Please do.
You know, Kevin's idea in terms of backyard, I think, is an excellent idea. I think initial a research for committee to prepare recommendations to council initially, I think is appropriate, and that council can direct staff like we did for the recycling services in pilot project to further recommend staff to come up with the strategies and implementation of such a program.
Okay.
Okay, thank you, Mark.
Thank you, Mark.
And I'm not asking,
And thank you, Mr. Chair, for realizing that we have another project on the go.
yes, I'd like to see that one completed.
Staff appreciates that you recognize that.
So maybe in late summer, early fall.
What we can do, Mr. Chair and Michelle, what we can do is maybe a quick overview at our next meeting of what a proposed timeframe may be, or at least have it on the agenda just for a quick update.
Mm-hmm.
That way there, at least it doesn't get put aside and we forget about it. Because I think it's a worthwhile idea to pursue, which is cost effective for everybody.
Yeah, I agree. I'm in on that.
Okay, did anyone forget anything? Does anyone want to chime in with anything?
Through you, Mr. Chair.
Yes, please.
Okay. Through you, I'd just like to update the committee that coming up in May, from May 16th to 23rd, we have free residential tipping at the landfill site. And also our household hazardous waste day is May 28th. That information is going to be on the tax bill. I just wanted to let the committee know that that is coming up.
Thank you, Kevin, for the info. And if there's nothing else, I'd just like to thank you all for.
I think Michelle has something to add, Mr. Chair.
I do, Mr. Chair. I was just wondering if you guys would like to make a recommendation for the waste management bylaw to be moved to council.
I have no problem with it. Would I have a mover for that?
I'll move it, Bob.
Moved by Dave, seconded by
I'll second Bob.
Dean, I believe, if I recognize the voice. All
Great.
those in favor?
Aye.
I
Carried. Thank you. I'm just going through my notes here quickly. I think I've covered what I wanted. If nothing else from anyone, I would ask for an adjournment, a mover for the adjournment. Jennifer,
Brad second.
you got that, Michelle?
I do, thank you.
So I'd just like to thank everyone for taking an hour out of your time here on Thursday night, and enjoy the rest of your evening. May your wine be cold and your beer also. So enjoy your evening.
Thank you, Bob.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Have a great evening,
Bye.
everyone.
Bye.
Good, everybody.
Thanks. Good night.
Good night. Bye-bye.